Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins #1. That's the Dolphins, the greatest football team. We take the ball from goal to goal like no one's ever seen. We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. Yes, Miami Dolphins #1. Miami Dolphins #1. Yes, this is Big Earl talking Miami Dolphins football. And not only Miami Dolphins football, but also talk about Bahamian sports. Bahamian sports locally, internationally, and all over the world. Wherever Bahamians are, I am trying to follow them to see what's happening with their careers so I could bring it to my fans and bring it to all my people here in the Bahamas and wherever Bahamians are right now in the world. But my job is to let you know what's happening with our Bahamian athletes, not only American sports, but also Bahamian sports. But with that said, there are a few things happening in the world of sports. And as you all may be aware, the great center from the Boston Celtics, Bill Walton, great center from the Boston Celtics, Bill Walton. Yes, all respect to Bill Walton and all respect to the Bill Walton fans. As we know, Bill Walton was a two-time NBA championship. I think one of those championships might have been with the Boston Celtics. He played for many years in the NBA. Started off back in the 1970s. Bill Theodore Walton started off back in the 1970s. He was born on the 5th of November, 1952. And I must say, Bill Walton has passed away. He passed away on the 27th. That's just 2 days ago, 27th of May, 2024. He was the big-time center. He played for a few NBA teams in the NBA during his time as a basketball player. He played with the Portland Trail Blazers. He also played, didn't know that there was a team in San Diego called the San Diego Los Angeles Clippers. He also played for the Boston Celtics between 1985 and 1988. And, all respect to him and prayers goes out to his family. And may he rest in peace and all the faithful departed rest in peace. Bill Walton, a great NBA player. And he made his mark and he left a legacy. Not only an NBA player, but he was also a broadcaster. He brought on a number of NBA games during his time after he would have retired from playing NBA basketball. But may his soul rest in peace. And now we just go to talk about my great Miami Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins. And tonight I will be talking about the Miami Dolphins wide receivers, the two best wide receivers in my opinion, and they just got a little bit better by adding Odell Beckham as a part of the wide receiver core with the Miami Dolphins. And if you would take a look at the stats between Waddle and Hill last season, those guys played at a very, very high level. And I was just looking at other teams in the AFC East and their wide receiver core, and none of them even comes close to the Miami Dolphins. With the statistics those guys would have put up in the last 2 years being a part of the Miami Dolphins. And I must say, those guys put up some good numbers, especially Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is the main wide receiver there in Miami, and he did an awesome job in his first year, and he's doing an even better job. He did a better job in his second year as the Miami Dolphins. And if you would look at it, he was targeting 2,000 yards, which hasn't been done, and probably now being done or hasn't been done in a very, very long time. So, and he right up there, I think he got past 1,700 yards as a wide receiver with the Miami Dolphins. And just look at the stats from those two guys, man, look here. It is scary. It is really, really scary because you look at Jalen Waddle last season, he had 72 receptions. He went for 1,014 yards, averaging 14.1 yards per catch. long 60, and 4 touchdowns last season. I look at Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill, 119 targets, and he had over 1,700. He was 1 yard shy of 1,800 yards last season. 1,799 yards, 1 yard shy. They should have let him stay in the game to catch that 1 yard, and probably might have been much more than 1,700. Average 15.1, long 78, and 13 touchdowns. 13 touchdowns for Tyreek Hill during the 2023 season. Now, when you look at what's happening with the Miami Dolphins this season, they picked up Odell Beckham. Odell Beckham was a star wide receiver for the Giants. And after he would have been released, or after he would have left the Giants, he went and played for a Super Bowl contender. That was the Rams. And then he played for another Super Bowl contender last year. He played for the Baltimore Ravens. And last season, he had 35 targets. He's for 565 yards and 16.1 average per catch, long 51, and 3 touchdowns. Just 1 touchdown behind Jalen Waddle. 1 touchdown behind Jalen Waddle. And if you just look at the yards, he got 565, just a little over half of 1,000 yards last season. So imagine if he was the primary receiver. But playing for as a backup on those other teams, he was still able to get all those yards, over 500 and 3 touchdowns. So he did an awesome job last year with Baltimore. Now he's here with us in Miami. So him being with us in Miami, we have a good opportunity to make a whole lot of noise in the NFL this coming season. And I believe that the teams in the NFL, they will have a whole lot of respect for Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and Odell Beckham. Because imagine those 2 guys being covered on the outside. And imagine Odell Beckham being in the slot along with tight end on the other side. What could happen? The position on the inside should be open at all times. The middle of the field should be open at all times. The reason why the middle of the field will be open or should be open at all times is because you have the 2 wide outs. You have 2 speedy wide receivers in Waddle and Tyreek Hill. They're going to be taking defenders down the field. They're going to be covered by the corners, and then the safeties. They are going to have to cheat over. If they cheat over to assist the cornerbacks on the left or right hand side of the offense, then what's going to happen? The middle of the field should be wide open. So Odell Beckham and our tight ends should have a good season this upcoming season, especially if those things happen, especially if those wide receivers run out with the speed that they have to go there and to take those defenders with them, because the safety on the slot or in the slot is going to have to cheat over to the right. The other one's going to have to cheat over to the left in order to have the field wide open. If the field is wide open, then the Dolphins have a very good chance of completing a number of passes in the middle of the field. And if they decide to go one-on-one with those 2 speedy wide receivers over the top, is a good possibility, because if they're going to outrun the cornerbacks and just a bum over the top, a throw over the top, and touchdown. Who's going to stop it? Touchdown Miami. So I believe the all broadcasters or announcers, they are going to be saying touchdown Miami a whole lot this season. Hopefully the Miami Dolphins wide receiver core stays in some kind of shape, stays away from injuries, and hopefully they will be there throughout the entire season. But I have noticed from our draft pick, we have a Taz Washington from the University of South Carolina. He's a 7th round draft pick, and he's a speedy. I'm trying to figure out how come this player wasn't chosen early in the draft. Why was he chosen probably even in the 2nd round or probably late in the 1st round? If you see the speed this player have, man, look here. The Dolphins could really use him, because guess what? We have speedy wide receivers, and I hope he's there, and I hope he makes the team, because he could be another long threat downfield. He could be another wide receiver on the fly going downfield to make those big catches. And I was watching OTAs. I watched a clip from OTAs with Tua throwing a big bomb to Taz Washington. a big bomb to Taz Washington. So imagine if he makes the team and the Dolphins have him in their season opener, he will be the ideal backup for Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle, the ideal backup. And then you have Beckham, who's going to be on the inside. We also have River Craycraft, who's a very speedy wide receiver who could do a lot of damage there also. And don't forget, we got a very good tight end from the Atlanta Falcons. So hopefully he could be there to catch those balls in the middle whenever you see those wide receivers will take their defenders downfield. He will be there to make some of those catches, especially on those 30-down conversions. We're going to need Beckham. We're going to need that tight end for those 30-down conversions in the middle of the field when the defense goes with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle down the field. But my main focus here this evening is really to talk about the wide receivers, not only from the Miami Dolphins, but from the other teams in the AFC East. And believe it or not, my fellow fans out there, believe it or not, those wide receivers from those other teams do not look as good as the wide receivers from the Miami Dolphins. And I had the opportunity to look at a few of them, and let's compare them. We have the New York Jets. The New York Jets has a wide receiver by the name of Garrett Wilson. He was targeted 95 times. He went for over 1,000 yards, 1042, average 11.0, and he had 3 touchdowns. All right. Tyreek Hill has 4 touchdowns. Not Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill has 13 touchdowns compared to the New York Jets' #1 wide receiver. And then we have Jalen Waddle with the Dolphins with 4. And then we have Odell Beckham, who has just as many touchdowns as Garrett Wilson. And Garrett Wilson is the Jets' go-to man. And look at Beckham. Beckham was a player who came from off the bench. He wasn't even a starter. And he has just as much touchdown as Garrett Wilson. Well, that's one of them. The next wide receiver from the Jets is Xavier Gibson. Xavier Gibson, 21 receptions, 229 yards, no touchdowns, 10.9 average. Nothing there. Cannot be compared to the Miami Dolphins wide receivers. Then we have Alan Lazard also from the Jets. 23 receptions, 311 yards, 13 long, and 1 touchdown. None of these records, none of his stats really compares to any of the Dolphins wide receivers, because all of the Dolphins wide receivers' stats are much better than all of the stats from the 3 top wide receivers from the New York Jets. Then we go to the New England Patriots. They have Keyshawn Boot, B-O-U-T, Boot, with two receptions, targeted twice, 9.5, long 11, 0 touchdowns. Wow. Doesn't look good at all. Then they have Kendrick Bourne from the New England Patriots. 37 times he was targeted, 4 touchdowns, his long was 36. And Tyquan Thornton, 13 receptions, no touchdowns. It doesn't make even sense comparing them to the Miami Dolphins. Then you have Juju Smith-Schuster, 29 receptions, 37 long, 1 touchdown. None of those receivers matches up to the Miami Dolphins. Not one matches up to the Miami Dolphins wide receiver core. Then we look at the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills, Chase Claypool. Chase Claypool played with the Miami Dolphins. If you remember last season, he didn't do too good with the Dolphins because he couldn't get on the field. We had Jalen Waddle and we had Tyreek Hill, and he had 8 receptions, or he was targeted 8 times for 77 yards and 1 touchdown. All right. Then you have Khalil Shakir, 175 targeted, was targeted 175 times, 15 touchdowns. All right. So he doesn't look too good either. All right. So if you look at the New England Patriots and the Jets, wide receivers compared to the Miami Dolphins, they do not look too good. And then you must realize that the Buffalo Bills, their star wide receiver, he's gone. He's gone. So if he is gone, who's going? If those guys are going to replace him, then what's going to happen with the Buffalo Bills? Now you have all the pressure is going to be on Josh Allen to get that ball out and to make sure he throws accurately to those wide receivers and see if he could win ball games. So a whole lot of pressure will be placed on Josh Allen during this upcoming NFL season. So from looking at what's happening in the AFC East with the Miami Dolphins and these two other teams, I really don't see these teams challenging the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins has a very good chance at coming out on top in the AFC East with the number one seed and winning quite a few games in the AFC East, or winning just about all the games in the AFC East. Our biggest challenge in the AFC East was dealing with the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills really gave us a lot of headaches, and the last 2 years, the Dolphins was only able to beat them once, which was not this season gone. Last season passed in the first game, and the Dolphins lost every game after that against the Buffalo Bills. But we had some good matchups with the Buffalo Bills. So this year, hopefully, the Buffalo Bills and the Dolphins, hopefully, the Dolphins would be competing much better with the Buffalo Bills and going on to win the AFC East. So let's see what happens in this upcoming season. We have a whole lot to be proud of with the Miami Dolphins. I love their draft picks. I believe this season the Miami Dolphins would have had, they were given out grades as to their draft choices this season. But from looking at it, I think I could give the Miami Dolphins an A or A minus for a wonderful draft in 2024. Because if you just look at this wide receiver, Taz Washington, man, this guy is pretty fast. He's pretty good. And I believe he is going to be right there to supplement the wide receiver core or the wide receiver room with the Miami Dolphins. So let's see how things break out for the Miami Dolphins in this upcoming 2024-2025 NFL season. The Dolphins are looking good. They're looking strong. And Tua is back in OTAs. And even though he was accused, and even though it feels like you're beating a dead horse, but the Miami Dolphins, they need to do the right thing when it comes to Tua. They need to sign Tua to a long-term contract to get rid of that headache and move on. Because the longer you take to sign Tua, the other quarterbacks, they're getting their money, and it's going to cause the market to go up, and all of a sudden Tua could or will demand a whole lot more money, especially if you see other quarterbacks who didn't have the same stats Tua had last season will be getting those big contracts. So more than likely, Tua could demand more. So the Dolphins need to not hesitate, sign Tua, move on to next season with him having a multi-season or multi-year contract with the Miami Dolphins. And please pay the man the way he deserved to be paid. If he led the league with over 4,600 yards last season, then I think he deserves to be paid. And right now, there's next situation brewing in Miami with wide receiver Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle needs to be paid also. He needs to be paid also, and they're taking long to pay all of these players. And if they're serious about these players taking them to Super Bowl or taking them deep in the playoffs, then you need to pay them. And the Dolphins, they are taking much too long to pay these players. Javon Holland, he needs to be paid also. One of the best defensive backs in the NFL. He needs to be paid also, and they're taking long to pay him. And for some reason, I believe they are putting him on the back burner. The reason why they're putting him on the back burner right now is because they're trying to deal with this contract with Tua, and they're taking long to pay Tua. But the thing is, they need to work on one thing at a time, get rid of the contract with Tua, get rid of Jalen Waddle's contract, give him a much better contract, and then pay Holland. Holland is one of the best out there. We cannot let the same thing happen with Holland, Tyreek Hill, not only Tyreek Hill, with Jalen Waddle, that what happened with Christian Wilkins and Robert Hunt. Those two guys, Robert Hunt, one of the best guards in the NFL. Then Christian Wilkins is moving all the way up, one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL. They're gone. Now they're replacing them with other players, and now there's going to be a little time before they could gel or they could have the same chemistry with the other players because they never played with them. So what are we going to do? What is the Miami Dolphins doing? Why are they taking so long to deal with their players? They need to go there, sign their players, so we can have these players in camp and keep them for a long haul. Especially if the Dolphins gets to the Super Bowl or gets deep into the playoffs, we need players. You just cannot keep letting the players go and you're not replacing them with good players or players at their level or even better than players at their level. So I'm crying out to Chris Greer. I'm crying out to Stephen Ross. Sign the players because for some reason it looks like the Dolphins is taking long to sign players compared to other teams. And it's going to give those other teams an opportunity to get our players. And if they get our players, then what happens to Miami Dolphins? Mediocrity, we cannot settle for mediocrity in Miami. We cannot settle for mediocrity in Miami. We need to follow in the footsteps of the Florida Panthers. The Florida Panthers, they're playing some very good hockey right now. They're right now tied 2-2 with the New York Rangers. And if they win, they're going to the NHL championship. And they're going to compete for that trophy, Lord Stanley Trophy. So come on, man. We need to get serious. And I'm crying out to Chris Greer and the owner of the Miami Dolphins, Stephen Ross, to come on, get up, put it up, and stop holding back on all the cash. Stop holding back on all the money that the Dolphins make, probably billions and billions of dollars. Come on, we need to stop holding back on this money, pay these guys, keep them in a Miami Dolphins uniform, and hopefully we could win a few championships. All right? I know in the NFL, it's all about business and what have you, but guess what? It's about championships also. It's about satisfying your fans also. The most important thing out there right now is are your fans. Your fans are the ones who pays the bills. And if your fans are paying the bills along with the networks and what have you, guess what? Pay the players. All right? And it feels like we're beating a dead horse, but guess what? I'm not going to stop. The campaign will continue as long as I have this show on YouTube. As long as I have this show on YouTube, I will be making noise for Tua to be signed. I will be making noise for Wall to be signed. I'll be making noise for Jawan Holland to be signed. All right? They are the backbone of the Miami Dolphins. And we have to continue to agitate. We have to continue to make noise. All YouTubers who talk about the Miami Dolphins need to make noise and continue to make noise. We have the Big O. We also have a Reason. And we have Dolly Do Wrong. Come on, let's continue to make noise. And all the other YouTubers are there who talk about the Miami Dolphins on a daily basis. Let's continue to make noise because we need to put this pressure on the Miami Dolphins so they get signed Tua. Right now, Tua is playing in OTAs. And like I said on my other shows, other players would have stayed home and they would have not come out to OTAs because right now they are voluntary, not compulsory at this time. And they probably would have only come out after it's compulsory. But if they come out, if they don't show up when it's compulsory, then they start to deduct money from them. And Tua right now is being a good sport. He is a gentleman. He is a real gentleman. He is being a true sport. And he's showing up to OTAs. Even though we have some criticism about him not showing up, but the times that he didn't show up were the times where he had other obligations. All right? And after those obligations were being done, he was back there in Dolphins uniform, throwing touchdowns to Taz, Washington, and other wide receivers and other players on the Miami Dolphins who was out there practicing. All right. So sign Tua, get him in uniform, and let's move on and let's take care of the other players who we have out there. With that said, I'm now moving on to my Bahamian athlete in the spotlight. My Bahamian athlete in the spotlight. And tonight, I will be talking about Stephen Gardner. Stephen Gardner, born the 12th of September, 1995. He is a 400 and 200 meter specialist. He runs more of the 400. And if you remember correctly, just about 4 years ago, he won the gold medal. The gold medal for the Bahamas in the 400 meters. The best in the world. The best in the world. And Stephen Gardner, he came from humble beginnings. Just like many of us, came from humble beginnings. And he's an island boy. All right. I just want people to know that Stephen Gardner, Chris Brown, and a few others are from the Family Islands. And we have this Nassau-centric thing that has been going on for a number of years. All the best track and field athletes supposed to come from Nassau. No, we have very good, fine athletes with a lot of potential in the Family Islands. They just need to be explored. They just need to be given an opportunity to show what they can do. So when they go to Nassau and they are on display at the early stage, like in Calypso and other competitions, they can show that they have just as much potential, just as much capabilities as athletes from Nassau or Freeport. Because I noticed there's a little problem when it comes to the athletes between the Family Islands and Nassau and sometimes Freeport. All right? And sometimes they're not given the same shake. They need to be given the same shake as the athletes in Nassau. That's the reason why I'm encouraging that we have facilities on all of these islands. So the athletes here could get the times, they get the distances from jumping and throwing, and be able to compete in Nassau and represent this country we call the Bahamas on a national level or on an international level. All right? But Stephen Gardner came from Murphytown. This is Murphytown, born in Murphytown, Central Abaco. He attended Morris Island All-Age School. All right? He loved volleyball growing up, but his love was really track and field. He did the 200 and he fell in love with doing the 400. The 400 was the race that he was most successful in. All right? As a matter of fact, his time with 43.48 is a Bahamian record, and that same 43.48 is sixth in the entire world. Imagine sixth in the entire world. That's awesome. All right, sixth in the entire world. And then he is the Bahamian record holder in the 300 meters, 31.38. All right, and that same 300 meters for the indoor competition, that's a world's best. He's a world-class athlete. A world-class athlete. All right? Him and Shawnee Miller-Weebo, man, you have to give them the praise. They are our heroes when it comes to track and field. All right? So those athletes, we need to keep them on a high pedestal. We need to take care of them. Just like how the Bahamas took care of the Golden Girls and took care of the Golden Knights or the Golden Boys. All right? These athletes need to be taken care of. And there shouldn't be no half-stepping when it comes to them. There shouldn't be no reservations when it comes to those athletes who do very, very well on the international scene in track and field. All right? Now, my contention, just like with the girls, with the relay team, the 4x100 meter relay team, with the Golden Girls, with Pauline Davis and Debbie Ferguson and the others. My concern is, what is happening with the males? What is happening with the males in the Bahamas when it comes to a relay team? All right, I know from looking at some names, Ramon Miller, Michael Matthew, Chris Brown, they might be a little up there and probably off the scene. So what happened to the younger males who should be saying something? What happened to the beach race bringing together a male team? All right, and from my little research, came to find that we have some young track and field athletes, Carlos Brown Jr., Ian Kerr, Somali Farrington, Samson Colebrook, and Wanye McCoy. I think McCoy is from the Berry Islands. I would have met him when I was serving as administrator there in the Berry Islands. Very talented. What happened to these younger track and field male athletes? So why can't we just have a team together? We have the Olympics coming up in a few months, and I'm hearing nothing about the Bahamas having a team in track and field for the relays with the men. I'm not hearing anything but the women. And I think we have sufficient women to put a team together, but what is happening with them? Why can't we get this place together to represent the Bahamas? All right? I know it was a complete headache. It was a complete headache, and it was a headache that was, I guess, deserved and satisfying because the results came out really, really good. When the Golden Girls came together and they ran for the Bahamas, and they came first and they got the gold medal in the Olympics. I think that was back in 2000. All right? So what is happening to the Bahamas now? Why can't we get our males together? Why can't we get our females together to run this relay? And I know it might be last minute, but there are going to have to be some sacrifices, and there are going to have to be some encouragement from the B3As to have all males come together to form a team for the next Olympics. Stephen Gardner is getting up there in age, almost 30 or 29, somewhere around there. He's getting there in age. What is going to happen in the next 4 years? Who are going to be the Bahamian male sprinters in the next Olympics in the next 4 years from here? When these guys do not come together to practice, and if it wasn't for Pauline Davis bringing the Golden Girls together, then we wouldn't have had that gold medal. It was a personal sacrifice by Pauline Davis, encouraging Debbie Ferguson, encouraging Sabina Fines, encouraging Chandra Sturp, encouraging whoever else that was on that team to come together. It was a sacrifice, and from reading a book, they didn't all the time see eye to eye, and it was sometimes difficult getting the practices in. But through perseverance and determination, they were able to get that team together, and they were able to win. I think it was the World Championship before they ran in the Olympics, and they were there and they were successful. And in my view, or in my opinion, probably it's going to take probably one of the male athletes to take the bull by the horn and bring the males together. If the B3As aren't bringing them together, and with the female side, if the B3As aren't bringing them together, Shauna Miller need to step up, or somebody else, other female athlete to step up and bring everybody together and practice. All right, I think we make enough money in this country to have these girls practice here in the Bahamas or practice abroad, get the professional coaching that they need to get, and do what they have to do. And if they don't do it, then what's going to happen? I'm trying to figure what's going to happen. This Olympics, I guess we will be looking at 2 gold medals again. Shawnee Miller, and the next gold medal is coming from Stephen Gardner. Other than that, who is it coming from? Who is it coming from? That's what I'm trying to figure out. I see my most favorite fan, Tonya Kelly, is there saying hi. I'm here doing my thing on YouTube. Hope a few more fans will join in and say something in the chat, and let's talk a little bit about Miami Dolphins football, or we could talk about the situation with all golden boys or athletes in track and field, or hopefully golden boys one of these days, or the next set of golden girls in the next couple of years. And we need to continue making this cry out to the B3As and out to our athletes, and hopefully they would come together and do something really special for their country. And let's take it to the next level, because guess what? If Jamaica could have it, if the US could have it, if Canada could have it, if some other country could have it, why not the Bahamas? What we have to do to bring these people together? Or what are we going to do to bring these people together? That's what I'm trying to figure out right now. What are we going to do to bring these people together? Not until we sacrifice, not until we decide to take some time and put something in it. And you cannot get something from it if you don't put something in it. We need to put something in it in order to get the best results. So not only them, or not only the athletes will be proud, the country will be proud of our athletes when they go out there and they compete in this upcoming Olympics and future Olympics to come. You have many, many young female athletes out there, many young sprinters out there. You have many young male sprinters out there. And we have some field athletes too, who does the field events, who could do something for the Bahamas also. So hopefully we could get it done, and get it done rather quickly. I know this is last minute, and I'm not hearing anything about a relay team from the Bahamas going in the Olympics to compete, but some things needs to be done, hopefully in the next 4 years for the Bahamas as it relates to the Olympics. With that said, I am now coming down to the end of my show, my 4th show on YouTube. I'm counting them. This is my 4th show on YouTube. And a big shout out to Tonya Kelly out there, who has given me this big support. And hopefully some others will join in and give me that support also as I continue my daily shows on YouTube. And let's talk sports. Let's talk Bahamian sports. Let's talk U.S. sports. My number one thing is the great Tua Tagovailoa from the Miami Dolphins. He is my number one. I'm his number one fan. I support him from the time he came out of Alabama. And he played there in Alabama with Nick Saban, one of the best coaches in college, and he had one of the best college players in Tua. So I must say, all respect to the Miami Dolphins for picking up Tua, and Tua has certainly persevered. He has some down times with his first coach with Flo, but now he has a better coach who is giving him the opportunity to excel in the NFL. And with that said, I'm now coming down to the end. And hopefully I will see you on my next show. Hopefully tomorrow evening between 8 and 9 or around the same time. I'll be on talking Miami Dolphins football, talking Florida Panthers, talking Florida Marlins, talking about Bahamian athletes. I'm going to target a Bahamian athlete. I'm going to put them in the spotlight. And tonight we had Stephen Gardner in the spotlight talking about track and field, the 6th fastest time in the entire world, and the number one starting, the number one time in the 300 meters worldwide. So imagine that. He is a world-class athlete, and he deserves all the praise he can get. And hopefully he will receive another gold medal in the upcoming Olympics in a few months. With that said, hope you enjoyed. Let's have some fun tomorrow and the following evenings to come. Once I have the time, we'll spend it here talking Miami Dolphins football, talking about Bahamian sports, and also we'll be spotlighting a Bahamian athlete every single night as we go from here going into the Olympics, and not only the Olympics, but going into watching Miami Dolphins football. As a matter of fact, preseason starts in August, and the real season starts in September. Cannot wait for some Dolphin football. And let's go, proud Dolphin fans. With that said, see you. I'm out.